This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the UK's #1 coral selling website, prestigereef.co.uk and reefdork.etsy.com for all your 3D printed aquarium accessory needs. What's up, YouTube? I don't understand why I can't get that timing right. Every time I'm literally watching it, 3, 2, 1, and it's just I get it too early or too. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Prestige Reef Dork. No one cares. Tonight we're going to be talking about ugly duckling frags. What I've realised is I can't remember when I put this stream up Friday, probably maybe even Saturday. Yeah. But what I've realised is a lot of the time, the topics for these I hadn't even thought about the live stream, but the topics for these live streams come when you and I just start having a chat. You'll phone me on the way back from somewhere or whatever in the car, and we'll start talking about stuff, and then something comes from that, and that's what this was. That came from a conversation that we had.
Yeah, I take offence to what you could title this, because the frag that you use as an example for an ugly duckling frag was a frag I gave you. That's maybe a little bit of offence when I saw that. However, it has actually turned into a really, really nice piece, hasn't it?
It has. Yeah, and actually, I can't remember why. I can't remember if I'd given you a coral or something, or there was a reason you gave that to me. Maybe you were just in a good mood. Yeah. Seems unlikely, I know, but
no, we have a sort of a friendship now where it doesn't always work out like that, but because obviously you understand it's a business, but it's not unusual for me to go, oh, here's a piece for you. You gave me a Montipora, a massive piece of Montipora in return at a different time. Remember it was that Juggernaut Montipora, wasn't it? So it's nice that we have that, because that's like an old school method of reefing mentality, which has gone a lot these days. Yeah.
But there was a reason, I can't remember. But anyway, you said, look, I felt bad because it's you and I are the same. Like we don't want we don't want that. And like if you give me something free, I'm like, oh, I feel guilty, and you do the same to me. But I felt guilty, and you were like, take one of those chalices. And so I went for the ugliest one, basically.
Yes, I remember that.
Like, I said, I can't take the really based out nice ones.
You're right. I remember that now. Because there was this one little scrawny one out of there were 5 nice ones. I'm like, yeah, have whatever you want. And you're like, oh, I'll have that little ugly one. Yeah, I remember now.
It was in such a state that I expected it to die. The before photo on the thumbnail is not the day I got it. That was like a month or two later. But anyway, we're going to talk about ugly duckling frags and finding little gems and judging books by their cover and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, we're going to talk about the usual fishy nonsense.
Okay.
Would you like to go first?
I'll let you go first. Unless you want me to go first.
No, that's fine. I'll crack on. So a few things. I've got some stream admin to get out of the way. I've had video podcast issues the last couple of weeks. I've uploaded the podcast because when you upload it through Spotify, you upload the video file. It takes bloody ages. But you upload the video file, and it does it. Sometimes it takes all night to upload, which is annoying. But the last 2 weeks, when I've woken up on Monday morning, it says 100% uploaded, and all I need to do is press go, and it goes live. But the last 2 weeks, it said 100% uploaded, and then it says upload failed. For some reason, and I've tried again and again, and I've actually tried editing the video and exporting it in a different file type. There's something wrong with it. I'm going to try again tonight. Yeah. But it might not be working, and in which case you're just going to have an audio. The audio podcast takes seconds to upload, which is great. But you might have to put up with. I mean, you don't get to see Ryan's beautiful face, unfortunately. So
what can I say? I do my hair and everything for you.
Me too. So there's that potential issue, and the other. I meant to mention this last week. So you remember 2 weeks ago on the live stream, I had a little diva hissy fit, didn't I? And I was like, right, that's it. If you're not subscribed, you've got to subscribe, and you've got to press the like button.
Yeah.
And I went back and looked at my analytics.
Yeah.
And actually, so what YouTubers always say, hey, make sure you like and subscribe. And there's a reason that they do that. They're not just having fun. it's because it works. And if you tell someone to subscribe, they're more likely to subscribe. Normally, these live streams, I gain 1 or 2 subscribers, maybe for whatever reason. They don't really gain anything. Guess how many additional subscribers that gained with my little
30.
begging? 0.
Oh. I thought it was going to be a load, but obviously not.
No. But I did get a 50% increase in likes. So thanks very much.
Obviously, everyone that watches it has already subscribed. So there you go.
Exactly. Well, but there's like 20% who aren't. And they're sat there going, no, I'm not doing it. Not if you tell me. So I'm going to reverse psychology now. I don't want you to subscribe anyway. I want you to stay unsubscribed, actually.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I'm going to unsubscribe now just to see your thing go down.
You harm my stuff because you don't watch any of my videos. So anyway, fish stuff.
Yes.
We discovered on this live stream a couple of months ago, I moved one of the cables of my power cord, and it used to be touching the glass. I moved it away from the glass, and suddenly it started growing algae.
Yeah.
Turns out moving a cable causes algae. And then I discovered also that got covered in green hair algae, like 2 or 3 inches of thick green hair algae. And then over the course of a couple of weeks or a week or so, 2 tiny little dove snails, demolished all of that green hair algae, which surprised me. I know they're good at algae eaters, but I was like, oh, that's cool. But I found a new thing that affects algae growth. Guess which inhabitant in my tank is cleaning up my algae?
Is it big or small?
It's relatively small.
Relatively, it's not what I was looking for. Because I was going to say amphipods if you'd said small, but no. I don't know is the honest answer.
That is not that is no. Amphipods and copepods would not be a surprise. It was my clownfish.
Okay. He's actually eating them. He's actually eating it, or is it just ripping it out?
He's pecking, like it's on. I don't know if he's prepping it for laying eggs or something, but he was pulling algae off my power head, and spreading it around. And then I just caught him a minute ago doing it on the back glass as well. He literally grabs algae with his mouth, pulls it off, and then lets go.
They usually clean an area, but they're quite young. Those clownfish, aren't they? But they usually clean relatively young before they lay. Well,
that's what I was wondering. But if a power head is a weird place to lay eggs. I mean, maybe they're just stupid. It's not impossible.
Look, clownfish will do weird they do weird stuff all the time. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were trying to live, so to speak, in a power head, in or around a power head.
Yeah, but there you go. So clownfish eat algae. Fact.
The reason that I said amphipods is because I haven't cleaned the water box tank obviously in the last 5 weeks, pretty much, like the back walls or anything, and obviously there's no herbivores in there, and at first algae starts to grow, and then as the population of amphipods and copepods are not being eaten by the fish and they have an abundance of food, it starts to disappear again, and you see them all day, every day, during day or night, eating the hair algae, and it starts and you don't realize how much of a difference they make to the tank. I actually think they keep the rockwork cleaner to some extent than the fish do. Because obviously the fish will eat the big pieces. All the little tiny nooks and crannies are probably being groomed basically by amphipods.
Yeah, okay.
So I just found it interesting because you literally, like, you can watch. It's like, how do I describe it? It's like they're cleaning like sections of it at a time, and then like whole big chunks of it go missing, and then more will grow into a different section, and then you see them go over there and clean that bit. So actually, I don't mind having the tank empty so much because you see things that you wouldn't normally see. The sad thing is, as soon as you put the fish in, you never see any of them again. Not during the day, anyway.
No. Well,
did you notice an increase when you had that?
I didn't because I didn't. No, I didn't really, but I did. So with the K tank, I never get algae in there, and I do wonder if that's why, because I've got quite a lot of tiny little critters going in there. Yeah. My cleanup crew, I've got some cleanup crew, but not a massive amount. But I have noticed in the K. In fact, let's move on to that now. So I went looking for Bergia nudibranchs. So about 5 months ago, maybe, I added something like 5 or 7 Bergias. I can't remember how many. And because I'd had my Aiptasia was getting a bit out of control, and while the tank was fallow, I just thought it would be great if I could. There's no wrasse in there to eat them, so let's see if they can clean back the algae, the Aiptasia. Sorry, they didn't really make a difference, and after about 2 or 3 months, when the fish went back in, the Aiptasia hadn't really gone down at all. I wasn't expecting it to be cleared because they do work slowly, but I thought they might have made a start, and if anything, the Aiptasia got worse. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I'm putting a wrasse back in, so well, that's the end of that. But I started thinking, I'd noticed recently that my Aiptasia are dwindling for sure, without 100%, no doubt about it. And I actually just went back and watched my my video that I made after the fallow period, and you can see there's loads of patches where there was quite a lot of Aiptasia, and now there's either none or one.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, so that must mean that Bergia and nudibranchs are still in there. And it's funny because people always say, and this is what I thought, if you put wrasse in your tank, forget it, your Bergia is gone.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make any sense, because wrasses do eat Bergias. Okay, nudies, fine, no problem, I understand that. But if you get Monty eating nudies in your tank, you don't just put a wrasse in and then it goes away. Like, you can't get rid of them. They're an absolute nightmare. So it makes no sense that Bergias are like this weird type of nudibranch that are just are really easy to find or whatever. It makes no sense that they would all disappear. So I went looking, and I turned my power head. I moved my algae scraper first time in a week. I hadn't touched the tank for a week, and this thing jumped off it, a massive thing, and you already know what it was, because
was it a Bergia?
Told you. It was a massive Bergia. It's huge. That is
big.
I mean, it's getting on for an inch long, and there were 2 of them. So I thought, fantastic, and so I put him. He was just in the water column, so I grabbed him before the wrasse did, and put him on the side and left him to it, and then I went back at night and put my red torch on, which is when you see all the fun stuff, and I found another one. Oh, it might be the same one, to be fair. And you can see there's a bad video, but you can see it.
That's massive for a Bergia. That's massive.
Yeah. And there were 2 or 3 that size.
So it's not like, you should have left it in the water column to see if because I would have seen if the wrasse ate it. Because if it did eat it, then obviously it does eat them. And if it didn't eat it, then because how are they getting that big without being spotted?
Eating Aiptasia.
No, I know.
I never see them, right? So that's the only time I saw them was one when I went in the middle of the night with a red torch.
Yeah.
Not in the middle of the night, but when all the lights were off with a red torch. And the other time was when I disturbed him when he was hiding in my algae scraper. So they're nocturnal, I'm assuming. Yeah. I think that's right. And so that's why you never see them. But they hide during the day, and then they come out at night.
There you go.
And eat all your Aiptasia. And this definitely working. So actually now I got to the point where I thought I'm going to have to get some kind of fish.
Yeah.
And I was looking at an Australian stripey, probably, but thinking about an Aiptasia with fish or a couple band. But they're all terrible ideas because they're all peck at corals.
Yeah.
To a greater or lesser extent. But now there's no way I'm going to do it, because I reckon eventually it will take time. They're really slow. Whereas my copper band, he just demolished the load in the space of a week. It was all gone, and there was tons of it. So these take time, but they'll do it. I think they will do it, and I think they'll get to the point where there's none visible left. What will happen is there'll be none that I can see. All the Bergias will die because they won't be able to find all of it, and a tiny little nub of Aiptasia will have survived, and then it will come back. But I'm all right. I can live with that.
I wonder about that as well. Does that actually make sense?
I know
but what I'm saying is, think about in the wild, they would have to search for these over long distances. So in a tank, why do we assume that it can't find the last bit? I know what you're saying, because that's what they come back, don't they? But why? Yeah.
So it'll be in a place they can't get to, in times in the past, it's been in my sump or in my weir box. Yeah. My weir box looked like a forest of Aiptasia in the past. Yeah. And if nothing can get in there and get to it, then it can't get there. So it'll be inaccessible somewhere, and then it'll spread. But to be fair, after my copper band died last time round, he completely cleared all the Aiptasia. There was loads in the weir box. It was like it was its own ecosystem. It was crazy. Yeah, it was so thick. When I drained the tank and emptied it, I should have cleaned it straight away, but I didn't. It stank, like it smelled like death. But anyway, so there was tons of Aiptasia in there, but for, I don't know, 6 months or a year, I never saw any in the tank, in the display tank. It just stayed where it was. It was happy, undisturbed. And that shows it doesn't need light, by the way, because there was a lid on the weir box.
Yeah. Did well, you should. The other thing, can they breed on their own, or do they have? Do you need two of them to breed?
I think they're just on their own, but I don't know. I think it's just on their own.
There is a legs. Next time you find one, pick it up and put it in your weir box because they can clear that area out as well.
Well, I don't have Aiptasia in my weir box at the moment, but yeah. But they're brilliant. They're absolutely fantastic. They're expensive. I think they're about 12 quid each, and I think I can't remember how many I bought, 5 or 7. Yeah, and so you spend the thick end of 100 quid by the time you spend
painful.
For these tiny little things. But they're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. It's slow workers, but they're fantastic. I'm really pleased with it. So happy days. There was and that was the other thing. That was the other thing I was saying. You were asking about did I see any copepods? You can't really see it here, but every now and then a copepod will move, or an amphipod or whatever will move on here on this rock. So this was at night with my red torch. There's one moving there. There's loads. They were all over the place. So when I went in at night time, and this is with the tank full of hawkfish, of wrasse, 2 wrasses, and all this. I say full of 2 wrasses, 2 hawkfish.
Yeah.
But they go around eating. They hunt for pods. So there's loads there, which makes me think it's time to get a mandarin.
So you're going to go for a risky fish then?
I am. I went looking for one yesterday. So Reefkeeper Moss End had one in their coral tray the other week.
Yeah.
And I went in yesterday because it was nice and fat, and obviously it had been eating, but I couldn't find it. That might be that it was under the tray.
Yeah.
Or it might be that someone's bought it. But
are you going for a spotted one or the psychedelic one? Yeah. There's actually 3 types, I think. There's also a red one, which is similar to the psychedelic one.
No, I think there's a few, to be fair. The red ones, I've seen like 3 or 4 different types. I had the red ones, but I had 2, the scarlet or flame or whatever they're called. It's 2 of the scarlet ones. They are stunning. And because they were a pair, they used to do the mating dance. Have you ever seen that?
Are you talking about mandarins or scooter blennies when you say scarlet or flame?
Oh, well, I mean, what's the difference?
Mandarins are the ones that are like that looks like they're on drugs, basically.
Yeah. So the one I'm going to get is this guy, the spotted one.
Yeah. I got Jamie one of those on Friday.
But the reason I say what's the difference is because they're all dragonets. So here we go. So that's the one I had, the red and the yellow one. And you can call it a scooter blenny. It's not a blenny. It's a dragonet. So they're all types of dragonet, is my understanding. Anyway, so I had 2 of them. Have you seen the mating dance that they do when you get paired?
They spin around.
It's probably on my Instagram somewhere, but it's about 2 years ago. I won't find it. They spin around together, like spiraling up, and then suddenly they get to, and they're doing their little fluttering fins, and they get to the top of the water. This is late at night, so the lights are dim. They get to the top of the water, and then they suddenly shoot down. Presumably, they're like releasing gametes. But it's so cool. But the trouble is, I won't do that again. I won't get a pair again because the female got egg bound, and she couldn't shed her eggs, so she just died. It took her, like, she was just stuffed full of eggs for a couple of months and then died.
Did it get really, really fat? Because I have a wrasse that's like that at the moment, a 6-line wrasse, which is like abnormally, like it's like 50% this big ball, and I keep, there's no internet in the coral farm, and every time I see it, I'm like, I need to Google if this is what egg-bound fish look like, because I don't know what to do.
I think you can like squeeze them out. I'm sure I think I researched it, but I don't have the stomach for that. And I just hoped it sort of. But...
yeah, I can't imagine it's a particularly pleasant experience for the fish. Like if I go in there and squeeze it, but I'm going to write it down. I always write things down so to look at these conversations are always like mentally stimulating for me. So I like realize things and then I write them down and then Google them at the end. But egg bound, there you go. But yeah, it's interesting because as I said, I've got the same thing, and it just looks like really, really weird. It's like it literally looks like one of those goldfish. You know those goldfish where they're like golf balls.
Yeah,
they're called something. Yeah, that's what it looks like at the moment, and I wasn't sure what's causing it, but I only noticed it I think 2 days ago.
I found the video. This is in just my video files. So this is it's dark because it was late at night, but this is the 2 of them.
Yeah.
and then he's doing his little showing off his fin, and she's like, "Oh, that's hot." Gets her in the mood.
Yeah.
There's a phrase I'm not going to use because it's disgusting, but yeah. So they're like, "Okay, let's go." She's like, "Yeah, come on, follow me." And he's like, "Yeah, okay, I'm getting there."
You're like David Attenborough, aren't you? With this
basically
this
the same,
trait.
yeah. Because he's getting older, but he's getting old now, and
Yeah.
and I'm here to take over. So now he's got the right horn, as David Attenborough would say. Do it, go up, go up, fish. Oh, maybe I didn't have them. I'm sure they went up. Okay, I don't have the video properly. That's annoying. But they spiral around together, and it's awesome. But the reason I won't get another pair of those is because of that, because I don't want, when you get, sometimes if you get breeding fish, it's the most amazing thing in the world, but it causes problems. So that in that instance, I had the female, she died because of it, and I don't know if it's because they kept breeding or whatever, but she died. So I was like, you know what, I don't want that again. And it's the same with Banggai cardinal fish.
Yeah,
the male, they'll keep breeding, and the male has it in his mouth, so it doesn't eat for a month, and then they'll do it again the next month because he's got nothing better to do. And and he doesn't eat for 2 months, and then he dies. So I don't want a pair of dragonets, and I don't want a pair of Banggai cardinals anymore. But
there's a video on my Instagram somewhere. It was definitely one of my YouTube videos. I'm not even sure if I'll be able to find it again, but I had a psychedelic mandarin, so not the spotted one that you're talking about.
Yeah, really cool.
And it has the entire fin of a clownfish in its mouth, and the clownfish is like swimming away with the mandarin like holding on for dear life.
Yes, you told me that before. I'm sure of it. Yeah.
I don't know. I'd love to know what happened in that situation. Did the clownfish get too close to it? Was the mandarin like, that looks delicious, that orange fin? But somehow you wouldn't even you just think to yourself, they've got these little tiny mouths. How is it possible to fit an entire fin of a clownfish in? It was so bad, and it went on for probably like 30 seconds. I had to separate them. He wouldn't let go until I actually intervened.
Jeez.
They'd probably still be like that now if I hadn't.
Yeah, just not going to let go.
I saw a photo on
Facebook today of a zebra biting a crocodile. It properly gripped in his mouth.
I get the feeling that didn't go well for the zebra.
No, well, zebras are nasty animals, though, really vicious. I mean, I know that put it against a crocodile, crocodiles like to drink, but they're really like notoriously nasty, aren't they? Anyway, but yeah, so there's 2 more things I wanted to talk about. One, Kalkwasser.
Okay.
So I talked about last week. I think someone asked, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not using it anymore because I just." And I started thinking to myself, "Hang on, I stopped using it because it was too much effort." And I had it on 3 tanks. It was too much.
Yeah.
But now I don't have 3 tanks. So why aren't I just running it on my main tank? And part of the reason is because I got fed up with my Kalkwasser stirrer as well, because I needed to keep unclogging it. I don't know what was wrong with it. It's brand new, more or less. But also, I did think it was too small for the tank. And so I was thinking, well, why did I get rid of Kalkwasser? Because I love Kalk. So I'm considering going back to it again. But if I were to do so, I'd need to buy the bigger Kalkwasser stirrer, and it's like 700 quid or something crazy.
Oh. Yeah, but that's like a drop in the ocean in this hobby.
Yeah,
it's crazy, but
it's a big lump of money for a tube.
Yeah, true.
Of plastic.
True.
But if I could find a second-hand one, and they don't come up very often, I'd think I'd do it because I love Kalk. So why love
changing things. I think you more than Kalk, you love changing things. You're like, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to put this light on. I'm going to try this new, I wouldn't say supplement, but method sometimes. Whereas I have been doing the same thing for like probably 16 years now. I found something I liked, it worked, and I'm like, I'm just stick with that. I don't want any more growth. I don't want any less growth. I just want to keep everything exactly the same.
Well, with dosing supplements, I tend to do that, and I've had a few companies offer me dosing stuff before, and I've been like, I've been using the same stuff for a while. I don't want to change. And I used ATI for years, 5 or 6 years, something like that, a long time, and then I switched to Kalkwasser, and then I switched to Reef Elements pH Plus, which is what I'm using at the moment. And that's I've tried a couple of other things briefly, but those I tend to I don't mess around with that, because if it works, it works, and there's nothing magic in any of them as a general rule. So, but I did think Kalkwasser, kind of missed that. But yeah, maybe I just need to change something. The other thing, so last week in the news there was Reef Sediments have brought out a range of fish foods, pellets and flakes and all that sort of stuff. And I said at the time, if I was going to buy any of them, it would be the spirulina flakes.
Yes.
So the day after, I bought the spirulina flakes.
Okay, yeah.
And because I want to get variety again with my fish. I'll say the good things about it in a second. But the thing I don't like, I've used it like twice. Oops.
It's half empty.
It's half empty. It's just the size of the pot. And I didn't see that pot because I bought it online. But it's like getting a packet of crisps. You open it, it's just all air. It's weird.
Supposedly, with crisps, they have to do that to keep.
Yeah.
This is what has been told apparently. And I did see a YouTube video where it was tested, with a bag of Doritos, where they actually added Doritos and resealed it, and then shook them for transit, basically, to keep them in that Dorito shape. I don't believe that applies to that, but maybe there is a reason that it's half empty.
I think I don't know. I presume that they just use the same pot. It's just cheaper to use the same pot for everything. And to be fair, I didn't see that and think, oh, it's massive, I'll buy it. I bought it online. I couldn't tell how big the pot was. I was surprised how big it was when I got it. But it's so annoying when you get literally half empty. I was like, oh, it feels like there's been a mistake at the factory. Anyway, the good news is I wasn't sure. Every now and then I try different foods, and I've tried. There were some TMC foods that I've tried. Big fat pellets, copepods pellets, and some other pellet, and they're a bit hit and miss. Some of the fish like them, some of them don't. I tried seaweed pellets, what they call the hikari seaweed pellets, whatever they're called, nori pellets, and they're a bit hit and miss. Some of the fish like them, some don't, and they're so small that the fish struggle to pick them up, so they end up on the sand bed, and then they just turn into mush, basically. So I wasn't sure how this was going to go, but pretty much all of my fish, obviously, like the vegetarians are going to go for it, but pretty much all of my fish went for it. I even had the hawkfish coming out going for vegetable flakes, which I was like, cool.
If it works, it works.
Exactly, and it's variety. It's because all I ever feed is mysis.
And there's no good. If there are people out there like Alex that are only feeding mysis, please stop.
I know. Yeah. Well, that's it.
I mean, to be fair, it's better than brine shrimp, but you are correct. Variety and not too much dry food, because it's very like dense. And fish aren't used
phosphatey.
to. Yes, yeah.
But I'm putting in a tiny little bit at the moment. I still haven't started feeding nori because I'm just lazy, basically. But if I can be feeding spirulina, I don't even know what spirulina is, to be honest. But if I can be feeding spirulina flakes, nori, and mysis, that's a bit more of a balanced diet. They've got roughage.
Yeah. Plus, whatever they can find in the tank as well, because obviously, as they're hunting copepods and things like that, they're getting
So that's planned, and so far so good with that. It works, but the trouble is, like, it's easy to put a pot of frozen in. But it's just a pain in the ass to add this to my routine. So I need to get it into my routine. Otherwise, I'll find an excuse and I'll be like, oh, I don't want to get my fingers wet and I haven't got my towel, so I won't feed it, or something pathetic like that. Because it doesn't take much for me to put me off. So
I like how everyone not criticized, but like laughed that you spent that much money on a nori feeder and you've not used it. Look, it's funny because Les has just thought the same thing as me. I hadn't actually seen that comment.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But this is the thing. But I want to feed a bit more variety. It's good to feed variety, and there you go. But anyway, the spirulina flakes.
Like the definition of an impulse buy.
I know. Well, yeah, but I was influenced. You see, I can't remember whose video it was. I think it was on Treasure Corals. Yeah. Someone was talking about that algae clip, and I was like, buying it. So, but that's what happens. And even last week, I influenced myself. I bought the bloody Reef Sediments food after I talked about it.
True.
God, that's how powerful I am, Ryan. But yeah, so there's the spirulina flake. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was actually, I went, every now and then I go on your website, right?
Oh, yes, okay. What have you found?
I found this the other day. Fascination Fabia, lovely coral, okay?
Yeah.
First things first, the first time I saw that, I saw it in this pot.
Yeah,
it's next to a fungia, and I thought that must be a tiny fungia because it's next to a frag of Fabia. Turns out it's a 3-inch frag of Fabia.
Yeah.
But that's not what jumped out to me. What jumped out to me was the price. Nice coral. I'm not saying this is relatively expensive. I'm not talking about that. Yeah. But £187.48.
I knew you were going to say this.
That's a precise number, Ryan.
Yeah. Now, that looks like it's horrifically expensive. The reason it's like that is because I have to sell that coral for £150. So obviously at the moment there is a 20% discount on everything on the website. So if I put it as £150 and then you get 20% off, I am then not making what I need to make on that. Because also the other thing is when something costs £150, you get free shipping. Shipping usually costs me about £18. So that's even more cutting into the profit. So what I've done is I've put it at a really weird price so that when people use the discount, it brings it down to £150. So I knew you were going to say something.
I've just put that into a calculator, £149.98. So you're losing 2p.
Oh, close enough then. But yeah, that's the reason. And the other reason is because so one of them has already sold and it's sold for £150. As you can see in that picture, those are all the corals I got on Friday. There's 2 of them. Now, if I sold one of them to someone who collected it actually I dropped over their house. It was the first of a what is it, like Uber corals basically. Yeah, I knew someone that would want it. I contacted him. I said, I've got this. He said, I don't feel great today. And I said, no problem. I'm coming your direction. I'll drop it off. So if I sold it to him for 150 and then he went on my website and went, I could have got it cheaper than that. Like, I try and keep things fair for everyone.
Yeah, totally.
So even though it does look really, really weird, yes, I know.
I was trying to work out what that was, and I was working out. I tried to find out, because generally, as what I understand, most places work on a 3 times the price. And I'm not asking, but roughly that's what shops expect. And I was trying to work out what a third of that is, as if it was a weird. But yeah, okay, that's the
that is not done on a 3, and that was expensive.
Well, that's the thing, and so torches are not done on that basis for a start, because they're generally quite expensive. But
if I'd done it on a 3 times thing, it would be even more than that. It'd be even more, I think, than the price that's up. So it's
Steve Webb says ads again. Do you not normally get ads? Ads are that's just YouTube, isn't it? Do you not normally get ads on the live stream? Tell me.
I don't.
But yeah, so there you go, 147.48. That's now 187.48. I now understand.
So yeah, so it's funny, sometimes you'll mention something and then it will sell, and so like by the end of the live stream. So we shall see. But it is a really, really nice coral, and it's funny because there were 2. If you look at that picture again, there were 2 of that type. One of them was slightly brighter, and that's the one the other person wanted, the customer wanted. But this one actually has a lot more green in it. So obviously you get. I know it's the Instagram picture when you can see them next to each other.
Right. Okay.
Yes, if you look at the one at the top, the green is distributed differently on the top one than it is on the bottom one. So, but the top one is brighter, but the top one was closer to the light when I took the picture, so that's probably also why it was brighter.
Well, that's a really good example of the headline topic for tonight, but we'll save that for now. And so I have a frag of that in. I think I've got a frag of that in each of my tanks. And when I say it's a frag, it's a colony now. It's mostly yellow and red with a few small patches, and the green is in the shaded areas. But it's a lovely coral, really nice.
Interesting. Yeah, I've got some in the water box as well. So
yeah, it's nice, isn't it? I like Favias and those kind of encrusting LPS corals. Just generally,
they are really, really underrated. I feel
100%.
Everyone wants a torch or a hammer or a frog spawn, but there are so many really, really nice corals. But the other thing is, I appreciate corals that I don't see as well. It's funny. I had a customer who will probably be listening. It's the person that you're meant to message, Peter.
Oh God. Stop reminding me. I keep forgetting.
I know you keep forgetting. He was here at the farm the other day, and I showed him this guy. It's a red goniastria, and to me, it's like I've never seen a red one before. And I was like, oh, you need to see this. And he was like, nah, not for me. So I like. If you look at the coral that you just shown, which is that Favia, is much, much nicer and brighter than the coral that I like. But I like the other one because it's weird and I've never seen one before. Whereas I've seen fascination fabias before previously.
Yeah.
So,
I'm trying to find that I've got a few fabias. Where are they? I can't find them. I've got a few fabias that are really nice. I've got from Reef Keeper, and they're just, I can't find them on Instagram, but they're just so nice and quite bright colours. A lot of fabias are a bit boring and a little bit. They don't glow very brightly, and they're not very bright under white lights either. But every now and then you get some absolute belters.
Do you remember I had one in the water box that was almost like dead? Like it would look like a rock. I don't know if you remember seeing it. Because it had been it'd fallen underneath the coral tray. I moved it into you would not even know it was a coral. It was so like receded. It is now a proper it's not a frag anymore. It's probably the size of 4 frags, and it's gold and red. It's like really, really nice.
Okay.
So corals can bounce back when when you put them in when they're not living under a coral tray.
Completely. I'm gonna go to another.
That's what it is. It literally looks something like, I'd say it's probably is it Top Fuel Favites?
Favites.
Yeah, one of those.
That's the reason I'd gone. So this is Signature Frags. And the reason I'd gone onto this website is because they've got some really nice Favia Favites, that kind of thing. The Yellow Submarine they don't have in stock at the moment, but they've got that. It's lovely. And this is the other one that I've got from them. It's now a big colony. I've had it for a couple of years. It's really nice. Top Fuel Favites.
Yeah,
it's lovely.
It might not be that exact one, but I can. Well, I'll show you when you're next here. You'll probably be down next weekend. You have to come down this weekend, which means you're definitely going to be here next weekend.
Yeah. But no, I'm up for that. It's getting into motorbike season, so I want to spend as much time as I can on my motorbike. Although I'm testing that to the extreme tomorrow because I'm doing 500-mile round trip to see a fish tank.
On a motorbike.
About 8 hours of riding, 9 hours of riding.
I've never ridden a motorbike. I can't imagine they're that comfortable. Not for that long. Well,
this is fine. It's a comfortable bike, but this felt like a good idea at the time, and now it's actually here. I was going to stay over, but I need to be at home tomorrow morning first thing, so I can't. So now I've got to do 9 hours of riding in a day and probably 2 or 3 hours of filming and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's suddenly starting to feel like a really bad idea, but still. But still,
what day is that?
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. Okay. No, I just wanted to make sure you hadn't said it's going to be next Sunday. So just because
no. But I'm gonna head back. I'll head down on at some point.
Yeah.
Ian, it's the larger one I'm after, not the 500. But thank you. That's a shame. I'm looking at a Gixxer 1000. I wouldn't be doing 9 hours. Yeah, I wouldn't touch a Gixxer. They're far too uncomfortable. What else was I going to say? Oh, that's it. Ryan, what have you been up to?
Okay. Right. So I think I mentioned maybe last week, was it, that one of the trays leaked, didn't I? So that's repaired now, and it has held water. And I have I've stuck to what I said was going to happen, where the trays have been removed from different systems. I'm starting with the Zoa tray. All the Zoas have been moved into the tank below. That tank has then been completely drained. You clean all the crap that's been there for like 4 years now. Some of the stuff that comes out, and the smell, when a tank's been left for 4 years, is not great. And then obviously it completely gets drained. Basically, it's basically like spring cleaning. The trays get then put back on top. And while doing that, some of the Zoas have also been fragged. So there is now a mission. You know that Zoa tray, which is absolutely out of control. The mission is to actually get them onto frag plugs, and it is working. So it has been. It's just I'm not great with regards to some of the trays. That's the worst tray, but it's. But the problem is, I'm not quite sure what I'm trying to say. Basically, so I thought that because I'm essentially doing an 800-liter water change when I'm doing this on a 2,500 liter system. I thought that would significantly bring the water down, because I'm doing a 400-liter water change from the normal way, and I'm draining a 400-liter tank. I thought that would bring the phosphate down, but because of all the crap that gets mixed up as well, like from cleaning in the pipes and everything, the phosphate level stayed exactly the same. I'm like, what do I need to do to get this down? So
it's funny every now and then, and I've done this where sometimes you get phosphate in your you usually get phosphate of some kind in your newly mixed salt water. Yeah. People often think, oh, if I'm doing a water change, my new water has 0 phosphate. There might be some in your RO water for a start, but also there's probably some in your salt mix for to some extent. But I've done it before where I've tested the water in my water change water, and I've tested the water in the tank, and so you should be able, if you've got 10 phosphates, and you change 50% of the water, and the new water has 0 phosphates, you should end up with 5 phosphates, right?
Yes.
You'll do that, and then you'll test afterwards, and you've got like 9, and you're like, how's that worked?
Well, I wonder if it's because when you stir all the crap up, because you can't get to all of it.
Yeah.
So you can get the stuff out of the tray, but you can't get the weir box stuff and things like that. I wonder if stirring that up, because it's also made my protein skimmer, which has run fine for years and years and years on the exact setting. Every time I turn it on now, it just overflows constantly. Yeah, so it's obviously done something, but that's why I'm doing 1 tray a week. I've decided every week 1 tray, because I don't want to upset the system too much, and it's not causing me a problem having that tank that leaked empty. So it's a slow process, and you have to also remember, like, if a tank goes wrong, it's bad for people, isn't it? If a tank goes wrong for me, this is my mortgage.
Yeah.
I have to pay. So it's like serious. So it, like, systems don't like being, what they say, tanks like stability, don't they? Well, if I ripped out each tank over the course of a week, 1 tank at a time, I think that would be a really, really bad idea.
Because sometimes it feels like a good idea to like suck up all the silt, all that sort of stuff, or vacuum your sandbed completely, but actually it's probably better to do it bit by bit. And so but no changes even with the 800-litre water change.
No, it's basically pretty much exactly the same. Now I've just written down test new water. So the water's coming out at 0 TDS. If ever the water gets up to 1, I immediately change the DI resin. But it's possible. You're right. Maybe I'm taking the phosphate out and putting exactly the same level of phosphate in. I wonder how you would deal with that if it is actually coming in the RO water. What needs to be changed if the TDS is 0?
You can put Roaphos in an RODI filter.
Can you?
I've never done it. Yeah, apparently.
I didn't know that.
You'd have to research. I don't know what stage you put it out or whatever, but people have done that. But there might be different types of DI resin. Again, check that. No thanks. There might be types of DI resin that put out phosphate or whatever. I don't know. But RO water is a pain. It's funny sometimes. Generally, it's easy, but every now and then something weird will happen, and it takes you ages to work it out. And
well, it's so that's the first thing I'm doing, and part of the reason I'm doing this is actually, and it sounds crazy that I'm doing this now, and it leads on to the next thing. I'm doing it for aqua. I am starting to think about aqua now.
That's 6 months away, right?
It doesn't matter. When you have to grow corals, it's months away. You have to start preparing. Yeah. So there'll be, and obviously I want to have a variety of corals as well. So some of the corals I'm fragging now are for selling, and some of them are also being kept. Will be grown out. So if I start with a really tiny piece on a frag plug, by September, it'll be fully grown out, won't it? Rather than starting with 50% of a frag plug. So I just want to get everything as pristine and growing as fast as possible, because this year, and that's the other thing I've done this week, I have 4 tanks now. I have 3 4-foot tanks and 1 3-foot tank for the show, which is double the capacity of what I had last time, which is why I'm starting to think now. Because remember, I started in June last time. So if I'm started in June last time to prepare for September, and I wasn't particularly ready, if I'm honest, I thought I'm going to start now, get everything sort of like the corals will be sold, and I'll get new corals in. But I'm just like trying to think ahead, basically, because if something grows really, really slowly, you have to start now. So, that will be it's funny because even though it's so far away, it plays on my mind every single day. Every day I think about it. So I'm just doing each week. I don't know. I need to talk to you about like what I did last time with the 3D printed stuff didn't quite work for what I needed it. So I keep thinking I need to talk to you about that because I want to test it this time well in advance.
Yeah, totally,
before I find out on the day it doesn't work.
Yeah, God. Yeah.
So, and I won't be able to design it, whereas I'm sure you'll be able to sort something for me. So,
yeah, I've not started thinking about what's it called at all. Aqua at all. It's not even on my radar. I thought about 2 weeks ago. I was like, oh well, yeah, Aqua, but it's not. I'm not seeing anything about it anywhere at the moment. Basically,
yeah.
I know it's happening, but
I know.
it's probably too early. But
I think people have. Like I might be wrong. We're the hardest people are. We are harder on ourselves than other people are on us. I have set a level now. I feel like last year I did quite well.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to do better than that, then I need to start like seriously, properly thinking about this. And so much goes into it. Everything from like I need a twice as large banner. I need tables that can hold that level of water. Now, last time I took a fish tank with a fish tank stand. These tanks don't have stands, so I'm going to have to think of something to hold them on. And not everything can hold 200 kilos of water.
Yeah. So yeah, true.
Yeah, so all of these little things that you have to think about, but that's as I said, I don't want to talk too much about that because that's sort of a little bit
trade secrets.
No, it's ahead of time. It's not just trade secrets. Oh, okay. I help anyone. So it's funny because one of my customers, I had a conversation with them yesterday, and they ship corals. They probably are listening now. They ship corals to someone, and they put 2 heat packs into the box, which unfortunately killed the corals. And I said to him, "Oh no, look!" Yeah. And I literally had a conversation and went, "This is the temperature. You put them in at this time. Like if it's above this around outside or whatever, because and you can see it in my videos. I don't hide anything because it's I want people to do well. So that
a rising tide raises all ships. Before you move on,
yeah.
There's lots of people talking about ads. Someone's just said again, what's with the ads? So there's obviously a few people. Yeah. I've just, whilst Ryan was talking, I've gone into my behind the scenes stuff on YouTube and I've turned it down to the lowest possible setting.
Yeah.
I've not done anything different. So it's just YouTube. The best way to fix it is get YouTube Premium. I know it's expensive, but honestly, it's so good. I've not seen an advert for years. Oh, have you really? It's brilliant.
I refused to do it for the longest time. And I did it, and I'm like, I couldn't go back now. Is the honest answer. It sounds like
that's the problem. That's the thing. I'm not on commission. We're not on commission. But the trouble is, they gave me a free, like it was like a 3-month trial or something crazy.
Yeah,
when they
sucked in by the same thing.
Exactly, and when they turn it off, suddenly it's just like it's hell. And so it's like I don't care how much it is, I'm going to pay it. So but that's the best way to do it. I can't turn ads off, because I need to pay for the software. Software is really expensive on this, and various other things. But I've tried turning them down to the lowest setting. I don't know if YouTube's just decided, hey, it's middle of March, let's bump the ads up. But there you go. I've tried turning them down.
I didn't even know they put ads on live. I know people have mentioned before, but obviously, if you're in the middle of a live stream, it's no longer live if you put an ad in it.
Well, exactly. So some people have said, "What's with the ads tonight?" which suggests then you don't normally get ads during the live stream. But I don't know. Anyway, I've tried turning him down. I don't know if that'll change things, but anyway, Ryan.
I haven't got a huge amount more to say. The only other thing to say is that the water box has been fallow again for 5 weeks now. It's gone really, really quickly. I don't really want to talk about it. I don't talk because it's boring. No, it's just empty. I made a little bit of a mistake the other day. And we all this is the easiest mistake to make. I'm pretty sure you will have done this yourself at some point, as well as many other people. Where I've got leopard peacock wrasse, and they are known for they're one of the fish you need to feed like at least every day, if you see what I mean. Like most fish, but I made a mistake, and I prepared the food. I always put it in one of the little pots I ship corals in. And I left it there to defrost, and then I went and did something, and I completely forgot about it. And then the next day, the dog here was going crazy trying to get into that room because the door was closed. And I'd never ever seen him like it. It was like he was on this like hunting mission. It was because basically I had forgotten to feed the fish, and the smell of like the rotting mysis has obviously triggered something into it, like some primeval thing inside him. But the downside of that was, which meant the wrasse didn't get fed for 48 hours basically, and that's enough to make the male look thin. So whenever they've all been through quarantine now, obviously,
there's a peacock wrasse. What was it? Did you say
a male leopard peacock wrasse?
Wow.
And it literally was one day. There's nothing inside him. They've been dewormed and they've been through all the quarantine stuff that needs to be done. And obviously they've been in copper and everything. So all of those fish are disease free as far as I'm concerned. So what I did which is what I usually do if there's a problem in the quarantine system, and there's actually a few fish that have now moved in, I put them in the coral farm. Because the coral farm is a really, really like established system full of all copepods and all things for them to eat. And this was yesterday, and then today again he's in there pecking everything. So sometimes I do things to try to make sure the fish are okay no matter what. So what's going to happen? I'm going to end up moving all the fish that were meant to go into the water box into the coral farm, because there seems to be a thing that seems to be happening. Because obviously the masked swallowtail's in there at the moment as well, isn't he?
Yeah. Okay.
He stopped eating in the copper.
I keep forgetting that all your fish are in quarantine at the moment.
No, just let's not talk about it. Let's not talk about it. I said I don't mind. I don't care. And the reason I don't talk about it on the live stream more is because it's boring. We've done this now. But the coral's all fine, and there's no all the things I was battling have all sorted. I literally just have no fish in there. So, but it's one of those things, and if it wasn't for the fact I bought stupidly expensive fish, I probably wouldn't have I wouldn't be as how do you put it, like reactive to the situation. Because when you spend that sort of money, or even with rarity, like with the Japanese masked swallowtail, like anything makes you react.
Yeah, you're not going to get that fish again, are you?
Yeah. Anyone who thinks buying expensive fish is a good idea, it is not a good idea. It is a terrible idea. It ruins your experience because it becomes far more serious. So,
excuse me, I'm thinking of getting a second UV sterilizer. I can't remember what size my current one is. I think it's 50 watts or something, which is not a bad size for a 700 litre tank, but double would be better. So I might just get a second one and then run the first one through the second one, and then because I think it's about quite expensive. I think it's about 300 quid or something like that. So it's a lot of money, but I think it's probably worth it. And then what I might do is just have it so. At the moment, the UV's on 24/7, but I might have it so it's on 24/7. I might just have it so if I had a fish, I have it on for. If I had a new fish, I had it on for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, I do, and then turn it off. But I don't know.
Well, that's what TMC do, and if keeping fish healthy is what makes them profitable, then probably best to follow what they do.
Yeah, indeed.
So, and that really is pretty much it with regards to my week in reefing. I just remembered how we got on, what the conversation we were having that triggered this live stream. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Yes. Okay. Well, so there's nothing else for you to talk about, is there?
Nothing particularly. No. The mystery boxes from last week kept me very busy. The downside with those mystery boxes was, and I don't know if people were doing this or not, they were still buying them after, like, remember I said you've got 24 hours or whatever, I can't remember what I said, to buy them. 4 days later, people were still buying those boxes, and I was like, are they buying them because they saw this live stream, or are they buying them because they want it? And I didn't know. You see what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
But either way, I had spare torches, so it didn't particularly matter, and I just sent the torches anyway.
Well, okay. Before we go on to, because that does segue nicely. Before we go on to that, we'll do member questions, and there is one which is not a question. And this is from Rich's Reef. He says, not really a question, but I love buying recovery projects and ugly duckling frags. Really rewarding to grow them out. with rainbow chalice and grafted chalice corals, you really can't assume it will grow out in the same color ratio. You win some and you lose some, and that's a good point.
Yeah.
So the color rate. Sometimes you'll see a frag, and oh no, I just closed down the wrong window. That's annoying. But sometimes you'll see a frag in a shop and it looks amazing, and then it'll grow out and it turns out. So that top fuel for Vite is a really good example. It's a lovely coral. But the nice bits are only around the rim. And often with acros, it's the same. The nice bits are around the rim. And when it grows out into a colony, it's just green. 90% of it is green and the tips look nice. And with chalices as well, chalices are a really good example. Sometimes, so the one I've got that's on the thumbnail, actually about 2/3 of that is just blue. It's got a nice green or yellow rim around the edge, whatever, but 2/3 of it is blue. And then there's the rest of it is that lovely rainbowy color. So sometimes it looks amazing, and it's still only golf ball size. So we'll see what happens when it's tennis ball size or bigger. But it's funny how they grow sometimes. But
I sent you a picture, didn't I? Today of a colony of one of them.
Oh, you did? Yeah.
Yes, that was the reason I sent that picture. Where there's no guarantee of where the coloration is going to be. With these sometimes. But what is interesting is you probably can't see it. If you zoom in on that picture, there are blue specks in the red, which means any part of that red can randomly generate a blue bit at any moment.
Yeah. So this is actually I have, let me take that away. I have that exact, I bought this from you a while ago. It's that one. I'm pretty sure that's the same one. And it's got, again, the rim looks really nice with a few colors, and then the middle is a bit more boring, but it's my one is still pretty even mix of blue and red. But sometimes you get big patches of blue, other times you get, but it's funny, if those little blue specks turned into big blue specks, that'd look amazing.
And at any point that can happen. It's exactly the same with grafted Montipora. So I have to cut things in a certain way to make it so that the frags are desirable. Because if people get a piece of grafted Montipora, which is, 95% red and a tiny bit green, it's not what they're expecting. So I have to try and cut them and blend them and grow them into each other so that they turn into something nice for people. But that means also sometimes you have a load of just random red bits or random green bits. But at any point, either of those bits can essentially spawn something else. Spawn is the wrong term to use in corals, but generate a different color.
But before we carry on with that, actually, I just realised that next week's guest is on from the live stream is in the chat. Hi, Michael. How you doing?
Oh yeah, your next week's guest. How many times are we going to peer pressure him before he actually comes on?
Exactly. Looking forward to having you on, mate. It'll be good. Sorry, you were saying.
No, I think I finished what I was saying.
Okay, but the reason for this topic then was good. So I was talking to you about you were doing. So, but I think you're doing a mystery box, right?
So basically, the mystery box I put out last week were they sold out like crazy, and obviously that mystery box was either a Dragon Soul, a New York Knicks, or a Holy Grail, or there's a few other a Holy something. Torches all have these crazy names, don't they? And I've essentially had some spare torches, and I just thought I'm going to put them all in. So it worked. So I called Alex. I said, look, I want to do this again. And this week's mystery box, and it's the mixed mystery box, and it is tonight only up until 6 a.m. So I thought I'd get that in at the beginning. So if anyone hears it, they know. Is going to be those chalices, basically.
So it's one of these.
Yes. So it's going to be one of those. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I sent you another picture, didn't I, of 3 different chalices.
You did.
Yeah, I'm making you work hard tonight, aren't I?
Bloody well, you're lucky. I've been organised.
Obviously, so chalices come in different sizes and colorations. Now, the expensive ones are the ones at the bottom. So the ones you see on the website are the ones you get. Now, I have a load of what I consider ugly duckling ones, which are the ones at the top. They're still nice, but they are either smaller than what the ones below are.
So that one in the middle, that's okay. It's on size.
Yes, but also if you look at it, the one in the middle at the top, and then the one in the middle at the bottom. Which one do you want?
Well, the one in the middle at the bottom. But if you gave me the choice of the one in the middle at the top or the one in the bottom right corner, I know the bottom right corner is bigger. But the one in the middle,
they're different types of chalice.
Oh, really?
So the one on the right is the one that you have. The one in the middle is a Bugatti.
The one I had was sold as a Bugatti. Are they not the same? This is the same, Ryan.
They might.
Pull the wool over my eyes here. You're
Maybe
just trying to get me to buy a mystery box.
Either way, basically, what I'm doing, I've given you an example. The ones at the top, if you buy a mystery box tonight, you're going to get one of those 3 at the top. So don't expect you're going to get one of the fancy ones at the bottom, because I never want people to buy something and be disappointed.
No, yeah.
But you're going to get something which you can grow out on your own, and it has the potential to turn into the one at the bottom, is what I'm saying. So that is it. The boxes are £125. You get 6 corals. One of them is guaranteed to be one of those. And if you're worried about getting the green one is the one I have the least frags of. So, because people will think,
you might still get it.
There's a possibility, but let's put it this way. I think I've got like 30 frags of the red ones and like 3 frags of the green ones. Okay. So it's significantly different. You're far more likely to get the red ones. But yeah.
But so the recovery project is a good point as well. And I've talked about the Scotty I bought for 50 quid that was almost dead, that's recovered now. And I'm a little bit more nervous about recovery projects. SPS recovery projects, forget it, because it will just die if you move it. But LPS recovery projects, I don't mind taking on sometimes, as long as they are cheap. They've got to be cheap. But there's sometimes you'll get like a row of frags in a shop, and we talked about this before, like a row of 10 of the same coral in a shop, and you're like, which one do I want? Is it a third one from the back, or actually can you hold that one next to the 5th one at the front? And it's like it doesn't matter actually, because they're all going to end up growing out. And I still, given the choice, I would still go for the nicest one. But actually, if you can get one that's cheaper, that is, it's the same coral, but it's not quite got the same nice pattern, 6 months time you're going to have the exact same coral as you would have done if you'd have bought the expensive one. So sometimes it's better to go for the cheaper ugly duckling one.
Well, if you bring up that picture again of the 3 different chalices, you can literally see the criteria with regards to what I'm happy with to send. Sometimes like one of those pictures, I'm sure, is, so a couple of them are on size. If the one in the middle is actually, it's not an issue with regards to the coloration, it's the fact it was the very edge of the colony. And you see there's like a little like bit of rock at the top of it. You could I'm so funny with regards to what. So it looks like it's died off, but it hasn't. So if it's the edge of the coral is not like, I'm just funny. I want people to get good corals, is what I'm trying to say. So that piece didn't go through the criteria with regards to what I considered as acceptable, based on, because I want them all to look like the picture below.
To be fair, for 175, whatever it was for the normal one, that's expensive. So when you were talking about that, I was looking at it and thinking, mate, they're all the same. That's not much different. But actually, if you're paying big bucks, you don't want a tiny little, which is okay. That's fair. And I did buy. There was another one I bought. So chalices. I love chalices at the moment. Yeah. I bought 2 chalices. I don't know if you still got from Signature Frags recently, and I've got that one that you're selling, and I've just got a few. They're just so nice. But I bought one from Signature Frags recently that I saw. I think it's the same one as the guy. I think it was this one, maybe. Fireworks Rainbow Chalice. 220 quid. So, and again, that's, you can see it's honest. It's half the size of a frag plug. And that's what I got. It's small and it's expensive, but it's this. I think it's the same as I went to a tank recently. I did that tank tour of a bass with metal halides and all that. And I think. And now I've got it in front of me in the flesh. I think it's the same one that he had, and his was so nice.
They're not. They grow slowly. That's the reason for the prices. Yeah. So, like, I'm not surprised, and that's a nice one that you just showed up there. It's like, if you're growing corals, it literally comes down on either how easy or hard they are to keep alive. So, like, if you can grow acros, like, the really fancy, like, tenuous and stuff like that, and you can, by all means, like, charge whatever you want for them, because they're homegrown, which means they're hardier than the wild ones, and it takes you a long time to get there. So that's when you have a coral farm, that's what you base your prices on. Also, there's like a standard of what is available as well. So. If everyone's selling them for like £10, and then you're not going to sell it for 400. Yes, basically.
Have you got a watermelon chalice?
Yes, I do. I have
Okay.
four frags of it that I reckon I can sell all 4 of them immediately.
Yeah, in a
because
second.
because
Yeah.
everyone wants a piece of it. But
So
I'm
I
not.
bought a frag.
Oh, sorry. The reason I've not sold them is because I only fragged them last week.
Yeah, okay. I bought a frag of that, for a good size frag from a hobbyist. I don't know, 3 years ago now, and it's so nice. But and for a long time, it was growing out in a perfect disc, like proper plating out. Because some of them chalices grow weird. Some of them sort of melt onto the rock. Others encrust. Others go up into upward shapes. Some go straight out. And this was a perfect plate. Which is amazing. That's exactly what you want. And so I didn't want to touch it whilst it's this perfect disc. But now it's got to the point where it's a disc, probably the size of a discus, as in not the thing you throw, not the fish. But now it started from the edges, they're drooping down. So it's just sagging downwards.
Yeah.
So it's a less pleasing like growth pattern. So at some point now I'm gonna frag it because I
bring it here. I'll cut it out for you.
what I want to do and see if it goes outwards. What?
Oh, you just froze then. So I was it's been going so well. But the only other thing I just remembered about the mystery box is if you bought a mystery, I can't guarantee it if you bought one like ages ago. If you bought a mystery box last week, you're guaranteed to get different corals because I'm going to be doing different corals each week as well.
Do you make a note of who buys what?
I can see who obviously has. I can check who's bought a mystery box last week. But if you bought a mystery box previous time, I will basically do like the other 5 corals will be completely different to the ones I picked last week. That's how I can guarantee it. If you bought a mystery box 2 months ago, there's a possibility it's just random. I don't know what people get, and people go, "How can you not know what people get?" And it's because I pick corals out, and I might pick 3 or 4 corals from the same tray, float them in that tank, and then just pick different corals. I just pick one pot from each tank because I know they're all roughly the same price. Yeah. So it really is random.
It's a mystery to you, even.
Yes, because people sometimes they message me and they go, "Oh, can you help me out with this?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine, but you got to send me some pictures." So yeah.
I was just scaping around in the back end of my YouTube thing because I was just checking with the member comments to see if anything else has come through, and I've checked my my withheld comments, which I never check this folder. You have to go and find it, and you have to be on a computer to check it. And it just blocks. YouTube blocks weird stuff. This is from JH, who, by the way, hello. He comments every week, all the time. I really enjoy reading. Genuinely enjoy reading comments after this live stream. It's great. And JH is one of the people who always comments. And it's blocked his video, his comment from 6 days ago. I've got a Ryan's and Alex's bicep fetish.
That's why it's blocked.
Actually, I've just realised.
I believe that should be blocked.
I didn't see the word fetish. Now I understand. But sometimes it blocks. I thought it was just there. All right. That's fair enough. But anyway,
it's not something for us to talk about now. But I understand.
Yeah, indeed. Anyway, hang on a second. Spike P100 says, "How do you feel about the upward trajectory for coral pricing and the fight to make it easier to keep them propagate?" I mean, upward trajectory for pricing. The corals are expensive, but actually, frags. Lots of shops. So Reefkeeper Moss End has loads of frags that they frag themselves that are cheap. You're the same.
Yeah.
Loads of places have. So there are lots of corals I don't think are getting more expensive. Do you think that corals generally are getting more expensive? They're imported, for example.
Oh, that's a good question. Some of them have definitely come down in price. Definitely. Torches, they were like astronomical prices at one point. They have definitely come down. I think that there's something very dangerous in the industry, which is like a race to the bottom. And with regards to some things. And the reason it's dangerous is because no one really wins. What usually happens is there's a race to the bottom to try to get the cheapest possible corals. I think apparently it happened in the koi industry. I don't know anything about the koi industry.
Happens in every industry.
I spoke to an owner of a fish shop, and they said it happened in the koi industry. And what usually happens is it falls, and then the people that were causing it to fall realize that there's no money, there's no reason to do it for that much, and then it goes back up slightly. It never goes back up to where it was, but it goes slightly back up. There, you do notice a race to the bottom. Anyone can sell corals from their house. Literally anyone. It's if you can keep corals alive, basically you can say. Which obviously people have to compete with. I have to compete with it. The shops have to compete with it. Everyone has to compete with it. But what usually happens is people then realize that it's not what they're never going to be able to turn it into a full-time business. You sell corals, don't you? Correct?
Yeah, I've not sold any for a long time, but yeah.
And when you do it, you go, oh, this is good. I got a bit of money. I can fund my tank. It's great. Do you think you could do it full time?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll answer that question with a number. I will tell you, because I record everything, incoming and outgoings on a spreadsheet for tax, because I have to declare it for tax. I actually don't know if I have to declare coral sales for tax. I assume I do, and I do anyway, but whatever.
Yeah.
In the last tax year, which is basically 11 and a half months, how much money do you think I've made in terms of coral sales?
I don't remember last time you just said you haven't sold corals. I'm gonna say probably like 2,000 or 3,000.
£151.
Okay, you really haven't sold much in the last.
That is not exaggerated. That is from my spreadsheet. That is the gospel truth. Going back to a more realistic, so the year before, last year it went up because I sold all the corals when I broke down my tank. So I'll take that out. But the year before that, when I had an established aquapora tank that was growing, and I was
you haven't had a tank. Yes, so yeah, that
exactly. That's the thing. That's why. But so the year before last, then 2,700.
So between 2,000 and 3,000. That was a good guess.
And actually, the year before that, 3,700. I wonder why that is. Anyway. I sold them. I sold some big corals at that point.
Probably to me.
Probably, yeah. But when you got an established tank, you can actually, and that pays for a few things. That's not just salt wigs. But there are times when, like, I don't want to. Thing is, I'll frag corals when they've grown out too big, and I don't want them to be that big. Yeah. But if every now and then, someone, that watermelon chalice is a great example. I've had a few people say, "Are you going to frag that?" Yeah. And whilst it's looking lovely, no, I'm not touching it, because that's more important to me than 20 quid or whatever, Yeah. But although it adds up apparently, but if you can take the edge off it when you're selling corals. Yeah. But there's anyway. Sorry, I've digressed. It's good to have competition, and you need competition from vendors who are like proper retailers, shops, online places, and you need them who are prepared to push it and go cheaper. You don't want to race to the bottom, because it doesn't do anyone any favors. And it's good to have competition from people selling from their home as well, like me, just normal people who just sell them on eBay or wherever. But with pricing though, is there an upward trajectory? I mean, inflation's got a lot to answer for, and the trouble is, you can't really. There's not a database, so I can't go back and look at 5 years ago how much a green star polyp frag cost and how much it costs now. And what you need to do really is do a proper analysis on all corals. I don't feel like corals are getting more expensive across the board. I think some of them are, and there's some corals I'm noticing that, especially imported corals, I raise an eyebrow because they're so expensive. Yeah. But generally, the frags I see, and I tend to buy frags, they're roughly that they don't tend to move. They tend to be roughly the same. Probably go up a little bit with inflation or whatever, but
COVID I don't feel like changed the cost of both fish and corals. So obviously, I saw Michael Aaron said that he's been away for 4 years and coral prices have now gone insane. So
interesting.
That's because obviously during COVID, everything went because of the shipping costs and planes weren't flying. The corals and fish got really, really expensive. So people got used to paying really, really expensive prices. And there is obviously, then there was, you have to remember that coral price is also the cost of all the electricity and all the salt and everything. It's not just the cost of the individual coral itself. And everything went up. All the electricity went crazy, didn't it? So people got used to spending more money. I don't believe you're ever, ever, ever going to see yellow tangs come down to £25 again. No, ever. No. People have been paying 230, 300 or whatever.
There are reasons for that, though. I'm sure it costs more to import them now than it did back in the day.
Yes, but even if it didn't cost more, I don't believe. People. So if people are used to paying it, the people people in Hawaii, for example, if they're the one, they'll go, oh, people have been paying that much for them. We'll start charging more for them. Because why wouldn't they? They will have the internet.
Someone in the supply chain will keep the price up. And actually, so fish prices, I have noticed increases, and fish prices are up a lot now. Fish prices have definitely gone up. I feel like, and I've got no data for it, but I feel like they've gone up ahead of inflation. Maybe that's the COVID effect, when suddenly the cost of a container went up crazy, and air flights were really expensive and all this. I don't know, but I definitely feel like fish have got really expensive.
I think some of the dry goods as well. I remember paying £50 for a bucket of salt. I'd use a different salt.
Salt absolutely has gone crazy. I feel like every time I buy a bucket now, and because I've got a big tank, I get through a lot every 6 weeks or so. I use Tropic Marine Pro.
Do not complain. I get through 2 buckets a week. Every single week, I go through 2 buckets.
But I feel like it goes up in price quite regularly, 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
And at the moment, it's about 85 quid, and it wasn't that long ago it was 50 quid. So salt has gone. I don't know why in particular salt, because from what I understand, there's not like a vast profit margin because it's so heavy to ship around. But I don't know why salt's so expensive, but salt definitely has gone up a lot.
Well, the salt that I was paying £50 for, I've just googled it, is now £70. So
when were you paying 50?
I don't know. It would have been before the coral farm started, so it would have been 4 or 5 years ago. 4 years ago. I can't say it was 50 then, but I do remember it being £50. And so these things, they sort of sneak up. I know, like, I never realised that had got so crazy.
It's funny, actually. So Michael Aarons, and he'd said he'd be up for coming on, by the way. He's just got a few busy weeks. But actually, this is a really interesting perspective, because he's been out of the hobby cold turkey for 4 years. It's like he's jumped forward in time, and he can see the difference. Because, like, if you've got a kid or a pet or whatever, and they get bigger and bigger, you don't notice, and then someone sees them every 6 months. Oh, haven't you grown, sort of thing. That's kind of the effect he's getting. And he says it seems every coral has a name now. Even 10 quid no name zoas have a crazy price and name, and that's been getting worse and worse and worse. But I hadn't noticed it was like the naming thing. I hadn't noticed it had got exponentially worse all of a sudden. I just, in my head, it's just like it gets steadily worse and worse. But
there you go. We now know the topic of the live stream. What's changed in 4 years?
What's changed in 4 years? Yeah, it's good.
It's
because you don't see it when you're living in the hobby day to day, do you?
With regards to the naming, people, you have to add value as well. I am not a big person with regards to naming stuff. Someone came in the other day and they're like, "Oh, what's that torch?" I'm like, "I have no idea. I just put up as a gold torch," because if it's got a specific name, like I know it that's the name that everyone calls it. But you see things like God's Hand and all these weird things. I don't even know what God's Hand torch is, or Hand of God, some sort of like. What I'm trying to say is, if you name something psychologically for people, it adds value. The industry's like, it's a tough industry to be in, I reckon. And if you can add value to something, and it means someone is more likely to buy it, or even more importantly, more likely to buy it for more money, it's worth doing.
There's definitely merit in naming stuff, because the alternative is to have the scientific name. That's not going to mean anything to most hobbies. You need to know if you're getting a goniopora or an aquapora, for example. So you need that scientific distinction. But I don't really care about, I don't want to know the exact scientific name of every single coral in my tank. It's not going to mean anything to me. I'm sure actually if you understand that and you understand taxonomy, there are real benefits. But hobbyists aren't going to go their way. And also the good thing with names is that you get, if it's done properly, and that you need like a naming organization, a board that sets the names, because when it's done properly, strawberry shortcake, that's a bad example because there are a few types of strawberry shortcake, but barley green slimer is a brilliant example, actually, because if you want a barley green slimer and you see in someone's tank and they say that's a barley green slimer, you can go and look up a barley green slimer, and there's a very good chance it's going to be the same coral. So actually, if you see a coral and you want that coral, it's useful to know what it is so you can go and buy it. And strawberry shortcake 20 years ago or whatever would have been a ridiculous name, whereas now it's like lizard snot Favi or whatever, which is now a ridiculous name, but in 10 years' time, it'll be normal. But
I feel like people are getting less creative with their names. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, probably. But you need names to a degree. But what annoys me is and the thing is though, those names come from, where do they come from? Someone makes them up. But and so they've got to just come from somewhere. Someone's got to make it up because there isn't a central organization that does it. But I don't like it when you get individual vendors just pulling out random names that are just, and because it's just like choose random words that sound weird and are funny, and I don't like that. But actually, that's where the names come from. Effectively, it's just the trouble is, it used to be maybe it was one or two vendors who did it. Now it's every man and his dog, and that means that's worse because it gets confusing. Because one person will call it a hellfire torch, the other person will call it a dragon soul, and the other person will call it something else, and then suddenly, what is it? And then that's worse. So I think the names are useful, but it's just when it gets a bit crazy and everything's got a name, because there's some things just don't need, like Green Monty. It's a Green
people
Monty.
All the time when they come to the coral farm, people ask me what the name of something is.
Yeah.
And it's because if it's named, it feels special. It's funny. I got a chalice, which is nice. It's red with orange dots. Some people got it in the mystery boxes actually. And like it's a real I personally think is a nice piece. And someone came in the other day and they're like, oh, what's that? What's the name of it? And I went, I don't know. Like, it's just, I've had this, it's just, and then they moved on because it's like, it's not special. If it's not got a name, it's not something that other people find special.
So I always used to do that, actually, to be fair, and to a degree anyway. But now I'm kind of the other way around. So I'll find a coral that I like, and if I like it, I like it.
Yeah.
But when I'm buying it, I will say, what is it? And I'll ask because I want to know what the name is. But I don't. I want to know, but I don't base my decision on that. Or even, I don't know if I ever properly based my decision on it. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't know. But I still want to know what the name is. There's a really nice gunny. There's a really nice gunny in Reef Keeper Moss End at the moment in their coral tray at the front. It's expensive and it's small. But I don't know what name it is, but it's really nice. But I bet that's got a name.
But if it had a name, it would be justified that it was really expensive and small. So you go, oh, it's okay then.
maybe, yeah, maybe it doesn't. It's so nice. It doesn't need a name. And the thing is, in a year's time, if I bought that, I can't remember how much it is, £200 or £300 or something for a small frag. But in a year's time, it'd be a big frag and it would look amazing, and I wouldn't even think about the price. But now I'm like, I'm not doing it.
And you probably would have forgotten the name as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There are corals in the coral farm which are on the website and they're named. They're like, so what I do if I get a coral in, or like an import, I will usually, if it's like a chalice or something, I usually Google it to see if someone like Worldwide Corals or Tidal Gardens or someone, like reputable, I can't say that word, in the industry, has a name for it. And then you look to say, do multiple people have the same name for it? You see if you search that name, does it come up with lots of different websites, all of the same thing? If it's not, I just call it orange and green chalice, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And you get sort of two types of people, and it really is quite divisive. There are people that want a name, and there are people that do not give a shit at all about a name, and they're like, I want it because I like the look of it. But there are some people that you go, it's not named, they don't want it anymore.
But so I think I'm in the middle, and everything in life, right? Your attitude to anything in life depends on what stage you joined something, whether that was when you were born, when you joined an organization, when you got into a hobby. So people from 20 years ago, that sort of thing, they hate it because it used to be Genicanthus melanospilos instead of a fancy fish name or whatever. They used to have corals in particular, actually is better. They used to have names for corals, and every now and then you'd get strawberry shortcake or barley green slimer. But barley green slimer is like, it's from barley, it's green, and it slimes up when you take it out of the water. So there was some like that, but back in the day there wasn't that much of that. And then suddenly now it's booming. And so the people who were used to it being no name, just normal names, Hyacinthus or whatever, that now is like, when they see all that names everywhere, it's like fingers down a chalkboard to them. Whereas if you join at this stage, if you join now, you didn't know anything different. You didn't know what they were called before. So you expect it to be called that. You expect it to have a funny name. So that is normal to you. So it's and people get annoyed. Old school people get annoyed at new school people because they're like perpetuating, or they feel like they're perpetuating the thing they hate about it. But it's completely down to when you join it. And I think I've joined halfway between. I didn't join early enough for it to be no names, but I didn't join at the point now, so I'm kind of halfway.
People are proud of which side they're on usually as well.
Yeah,
because when they get, people usually go, I don't care about a name. I buy what I like. Or they go, I've got the fanciest new things. Look at this on my phone. So they're like, they're proud of this, of the camp that they're in. I was always in the camp of I didn't care. I was never interested in fancy coral. Like, I like fancy fish, but I was never interested in fancy coral. And I only got into fancy coral really when I started the coral farm, if I'm honest. And that's because I have to be able to sell these corals to people. If someone's searching for a jack-o'-lantern leptoceras, then I want to be the website that comes up. So I have to be able to know, at least on the website, what things are. Whereas if you ask me in person, I'm terrible.
But that's the thing with the naming in particular, is things like jack-o'-lantern leptoceras, you know what that is. It's a really bright orange coral with maybe a bit of yellow, whatever in it. Yeah. But you know what that is. And those, I think most people, even old school people, accept that. And strawberry shortcake and what, they accept that.
Yeah.
It's just the new names when it's going crazy and everywhere that's a bit more difficult to take. And I can't. It's actually people that you talked about, people being proud of the camp they're in. That I don't know if it's the case now, but certainly in years gone by, it was a big case with clownfish. There was a point when designer clownfish were going crazy and everybody wanted them, and there were loads of people on Ultimate Reef who used to say, "Oh, I just like a pecula or whatever. I just like," and they're like passionate about it, and this is ruining the hobby and all this sort of stuff. And then there were other people who were like, "I just love the Black Storm or whatever." And then you get some people in the middle, but I generally like, I quite like the fancy clowns, but I also like the standard ones. I don't really mind, but every now and then, so I don't really have a strong opinion on that, but every now and then there's like those long fin clownfish. I hate them. So, that's new. So
did
that's
you see, why. Coralfish 12G? Did you see that he did a video on a where is it? There's a coral farm in Indonesia. No, a coral farm, fish farm in Indonesia. It's like really, really well known. It might be like Bali aquaculture or something like that. And they had 2 long fin clownfish on there. They were like serious long fin clownfish.
Is it this Private Tour of Asia's?
I can't. What's the end of it? Breed. I think it is that. Yes.
Okay, I've not seen that yet.
It's actually you see clownfish on there that you've never even seen before.
Okay.
Because they're trying to breed them, because that's the next line. That's the next fancy clownfish. So, and the other thing they're doing it with angels, because not on purpose. Really? I don't think. I think they're just mixing angels together, and sometimes you get these weird ones come out.
Yeah. Okay.
So it would not surprise me, because I've seen quite a few crossbred angels in the wild, which means it can happen. So it wouldn't surprise me if you start breeding them in captivity, if these mixed angels start coming out like similar to the clownfish. The difference is they don't have the clownfish age very quickly, they breed very quickly, and they breed very readily. So it won't be exactly the same.
With clownfish, yeah. And millions of types, yeah. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I don't think I have strong opinions, but I think in 10 years' time, things will have moved on even further, and I will have strong opinions. And I'll be like, oh.
I think that the industry does need new things, which that might be blasphemy. Like I don't have a problem with the designer clownfish. I don't. I think, and I don't have the problem that they keep bringing out new variations. I have a little bit of a problem with the inbreeding and stuff, because if it's a healthy designer clownfish, that's one thing. If it's one of the ones with the big jaws, or they're got one small fin and one big fin, or whatever.
Well, the way goldfish have gone. There are some weird goldfish that have got like bulbous heads and huge eyes and all that sort of stuff. And that to me that's what I don't like about the long fin clownfish, is that it's actually it's detrimental to the fish. It makes it more edible to other fish, and
If you look at the long fin clownfish in that video that George has done, it's at the very, very end of the video. That looks like a fish that can barely swim. I've seen longfish clownfish before, and they look okay. these look like, like the butterfly koi, with the really, really long fins where they can or the really long fin goldfish where they can barely move.
Right, yeah, okay.
That's what they look like. So it's.
But you get that in. It's not just you get that in. That's pugs have been bred and bred, and they can't breathe out. They're like. So
true. That is true.
Anyway, we've gone off topic a little bit.
I know, but we can get back on it. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you buy more ugly duckling frags, I'd say, than I do.
I kind of do, but even then, I tend to buy stuff that looks nice. So I don't if it's a but this is where names come in really handy.
Yeah.
Because if there was a watermelon chalice and it looks a bit off, I know it's going to end up nice.
Yeah.
If there's a jack-o'-lantern leptoceras, it looks a bit rough, I know it's going to end up nice. So if it was just a random, lots of people buy, particularly with SPS, they'll go into a local fish shop and they'll buy, and Signature Frags do this, is how they get some of their nicest acros. They go and buy a load of just brown corals, brown acros. They look awful. They put them in the right conditions. They cook them, for want of a better word, for 6 months or whatever. And then suddenly they start to look amazing. And now I've never really been into that, but I can imagine how satisfying it would be.
Yeah.
But I don't do that. I don't tend to do that. I've got an eye for some of it, but I don't think I've got enough of an eye. Or with acros, when I have done that in the past, they die. It pisses me off. But I don't know. It's I can't remember what I was saying. Literally got halfway through my sentence and got distracted. But
I'm more of a person that creates ugly duckling frags, if you think about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I have to create frags that look nice, and then obviously corals are not uniform. So once I've cut them up, you have all these stray bits. I'm actually thinking about having a section on the website called Wonky Frags that is literally frags which they're fine.
Really?
I thought about it because
ugly ducklings.
Yeah, some pieces get thrown away. Like if you've got some they're basically offcuts if you think about it. If I'm trying to get perfectly relatively uniform frags or whatever, or you go, if I cut this bit, then there's a little one eye on there that probably won't survive, but it might survive. I got a choice. Do I get rid of it, or do I if it's really is small, or do I just try it? So it's that, trust me, when you're fragging things, especially with gonioporas and stuff like that, because gonioporas is like a ball, isn't it? Which means it's not like a simple thing where you can just cut through it in lines. You have to create a pineapple shape and then cut the sections out. But yeah, chalices, things like that, I often have. So I just thought I got the idea. I think Morrison's do wonky veg, where they sell vegetables that don't look like you would expect. And I just thought, why not?
Straight bananas.
People can get it cheaper than what they want. That's basically what this mystery box is. They're getting the coral much cheaper and 5 other corals for the price of one, and it's a way for people to get value for money, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I think now I've been in the hobby long term and I know I'm not about to drop out. I find it easier to buy a coral that's got potential, whereas at first, certainly for the first few years, I want it to look really nice, and if it doesn't, I'm not prepared to take the risk that it might turn out looking worse or whatever. So but as a general rule, if you put a coral in your tank, in a year's time, it's going to be pretty different to the way it looks on day one, and probably much nicer. Hopefully,
it can also save you a tremendous amount of money as well, because you did it with a scully, didn't you? Where you had a really, really ugly duckling scully.
That was a rescue project. That was basically, it was almost dead. And it was skeleton. It looked awful. But I would do that again with scullies, no problem. So I got that tiny little frag up there, that tiny little scully up there, and actually I've got lazy with it, and I don't feed it. I want to feed it once a week at least, but I've got lazy. But with a scully or with any LPS, like any big fleshy LPS, if you feed it, it's probably going to be all right.
Yeah.
It's just it takes a bit of effort. But I did feed that scully for a while, and it was all right.
I remember I saw a thread, I think, on Ultimate Reef of people doing it with trackies as well. It was like an entirely receded trackie. It was just basically dead. And then this person bought it. I don't know if fish shops will mind me saying this or not, but it definitely would apply with me. If I have a coral which is not doing well in my system for whatever reason, and someone came in and they went, I'll have that bit off you, and if you do it for a third the price or whatever, the chances are the shop will take it.
You should absolutely ask that 100%. And that's, I don't think shops would mind that. Be prepared for them to say, no, sorry. But that's how I got the Scully. It was in Reef Keeper. And I said, do you want, it's looking like it's dead. How much do you want for it? And it was 50 quid. I tried that again in another shop with a bleeding apple Scully that was in similar condition, probably worse. And they wanted 300 quid for it. I was like, oh, okay, never mind. But so be prepared for them to say,
that piece probably died. And then, so a shop will always want to get something for something and pass on the risk to the next person. Because if it does die, it's worth nothing.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's better to get something for it than just bin it. So, and actually this is what, there's a Serious Reefs video with this lady, Nicole, what's her name? I can't remember, Nicole Bridges, and she rescues corals. She rescues dying corals basically, and she's trying to work out why corals die. And so she's been doing this. They've done a few. Here we go. Nicole Bridges is saving corals as a hobby. Here's how you can too. Yeah, there's been a couple of videos with her, and there we go. Antibiotics. There's a few. But she goes around finding corals that are on their last legs and puts them and tries to rescue them. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but she has quite a good success rate from what I understand. And I like that because if it's in a shop and the trouble is though, if it's in a shop, if you get the wrong type of coral, forget it, it's going to die. So as soon as you move it, it's going to die. But with something like a fleshy LPS, like a tracheo, what's it called, Scully or whatever, there's a good chance you can save it, I reckon.
Generally speaking, I would say that most people's tanks would be more stable than a shop system, because just purely by the fact that your system, there's a difference between stable and someone who doesn't know what they're doing. So if you do know what you're doing, the chances are your tank is going to be more stable than the shop tank, because every day they have water coming out, like maybe once a week. They have a load of corals going in, which can affect the alkalinity. So if something's not doing it well in a shop, that does not mean it won't do well in your tank. And you can see I really struggled with that red and yellow favia, didn't I? And then I put it in the water box. Remember I said at the start? Basically completely dead. And it's now like a beautiful coral that I could sell if I wanted to. And you know what's interesting? I got thousands of corals. That's the one that gives me the most joy at the moment. And it's probably similar with your Scully because I bought it back. So you're right. It's very rewarding.
Yeah, rescue project. There are times when they really are actually. Yeah, totally. We need to move on to the news, Ryan, because there's a lot of stuff. We need to move on to the news, so let's do that now. I need to undo the news. Because we haven't done the fish of the week or the coral of the week.
We can skip that if you want. Well, it's up to you if you want to do it.
I've undone the news now.
Okay. The fish of the week I'm going for, if very quickly, is an algae blenny, because they are cool and because they have great personality. They're not overly colourful. There are other blennies which are equally have an equal personality. But yeah.
When they're small, they look quite cute as well. They're not. Some people think they're ugly. I don't think they're ugly. I think they're actually really cool. I saw these on holiday on my honeymoon. They were in this. We kept going up to this little rock pool where they were, and they're so cool. But yeah, I don't think they're ugly. I think they're really interesting looking, but they are a bit beige. So they're not very colourful.
Their eyes. Have you ever looked at their eyes really, really closely? No, not about how they move. Their eyes you can see just about in that picture. Maybe if you bring it up bigger. The biggest one that one. It's like, I think it's like blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, all the way around.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, you're right, yeah.
Because I remember seeing that
place to see that.
Yeah, well, I had one a long time ago, like when I very, very first started, and I just thought that is such a cool. Like, why has that evolved that pattern in its eyes? Because it's not even the same color as the fish.
It's true. They're really cool. I want another blenny. I think my tiny little 007 blenny, whatever it's called, I think it's died. I've not seen it for a while.
Sorry.
And it was getting picked on by some of the other fish, so I think it's probably perished. Probably one of the hawkfish. But anyway, so I need another blenny.
Hawkfish. I had to separate I had to separate the hawkfish and the white-tailed coal tang from the other fish in the tank. They're in a tank by themselves now. I don't know. One of them was bullying the other fish. But I never saw it happen. But yeah, it could be. It could be the hawkfish.
All of the hawkfish I've had have been generally really good, really peaceful and chilled. But every now and then, like my falco was a bit of a dick, and my long nose is starting to become a bit of a dick now.
Okay.
But anyway, what's the coral of the week? I don't have it loaded.
The coral is, remember, it's on the picture on the Instagram, on my Instagram, isn't it?
Oh,
the coral of the week I'm going for
I did have it loaded.
is a Platygyra. And the reason I have picked a Platygyra is because, so I obviously get corals for people to sell. So you see if you look at the pictures on the first pictures of that, a lot of those corals are like nice corals that people want, if you see what I mean. And then every so often I indulge myself with a coral that I go, that's interesting. I like that for me. And I pick this. Now, Platygyras are actually pretty easy, I would say, to keep. I have two others. One of them is that pink one. They're not overly fast. They heal really well. Like, they're not one of the corals where if you cut through the center of them, they'll die. I can literally cut that into squares. Like through the ridges and
just cut wherever
within reason. You have to have big enough pieces, but just what I'm saying is just because you don't have to go exactly on the lines, because there are some times where you can't, otherwise you're going to get the craziest shaped pieces. But
it does have it does seem to have little tiny mouths in there. I'm guessing you want to leave the mouth each bit, so
there's probably multiple mouths in each section.
Yeah.
Is what I mean. But they're a coral which I think is underrated. Possibly because they're not overly exciting, but I think the pattern for me makes up for it, especially when they're large. As a frag, they're a bit. Have you got any?
I've got three. I've got the nice. There's I can't remember. I don't know if it's got a name or whatever. It's purple and green. It's really nice. Just a normal maize coral.
Is that the one from me?
No, it's from Reefkeeper Moss End. That's also a nice one. But this really this is a classic. Like if someone says what's a maize coral, that's what it looks like. It's really nice, and I've got it on a 3D printed dome. I don't sell them anymore. I started making these domes, but I stopped selling them because they're so expensive to make. Like I made like 0.2% profit on them. But I have one in my tank.
Yeah,
and it's going at some point it's going to cover this dome completely, and it's going to look so awesome. But no, I like platies. Yeah, they're cool. You don't get much variety in them, but
with regards to coloration, no, usually they're green. That one stood out to me. There was a few green ones, but that one was obviously green with like a dark, almost blue center. The shame is, as when they're colonies, they look great, but they're expensive. When they're frags, they look like nothing. Like people have to be able to visualize what they're going to turn into.
Thing is, though, I would never buy a colony of platy because it's normally just a slab, isn't it?
Yeah,
Where would I put it in my tank? Whereas if I buy a frag, I can put it on a part of my rockwork and it'll encrust over it. So I would personally rather pay, maybe not quite literally, but I'd rather pay more for a frag than a colony. I'm not paying 300 quid for a 1-inch frag, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's yeah. I know we're in a rush, so I will stop talking.
News. And the good news is there's not actually that much news. There's a couple of bits of news.
So you lied to me. You just didn't want me to keep talking.
No, well, we can't blabber on forever, can we? What was I going to say? So there's no brown gobies, Ryan. So I can't. I
saw one the other day. I'm sure I saw one. I was like, I wonder if you've seen this.
No, I haven't. What's do you remember where? If you can find it, find it.
I'll have a look.
But in the meantime, while that's tail spot blending, that's the one I had. But what I'm trying, anyway, right. First piece of news then is Oyster Plus. Do you know what Oyster Plus is, Ryan?
Sounds like a food for oysters, clams, something like that. Or no, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to be.
You're nearly there. It's a new coral food, which is based on oyster. So it's from Reef's Elements. They're bringing out loads of stuff at the moment. They're expanding. It's good. It's called Oyster Plus Coral Liquid Food. So it's a bottle of liquid oyster goop, I presume there are no pearls in it, but you never know. And the description on this is on reefkeepingnews.com. Oyster Plus, and this is from the manufacturer. Oyster Plus coral liquid food is expertly formulated to meet the nutritional demands of your reef aquarium. It is a powerful blend of natural oyster extracts enriched with essential proteins, amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, and trace elements, carefully designed to replicate natural reef conditions. It sounds it's a little bit different because it's based on oysters, but it sounds a bit like that's the sort of thing that you get from Red Sea Reef Energy. It talks about amino acids, fatty acids, and all that sort of stuff. So that kind of thing. Not my cup of tea because I don't really like broadcast feeding. But it's interesting that it's based on oyster. I wonder why they've chosen oysters.
I think for some people that have non-photosynthetic corals, especially, but also clams. I know the larger clams are photosynthetic, but they do still benefit to some extent from things they can take out of the water. So those are the only times when I would be using it, probably.
Yeah. I'm not into broadcast feeding. It just causes more problems and it does more harm than it does good. But if I were to,
one second, I'll add them to the list.
I know, yeah, I'm trying to put the spade down and dig up again. But yeah, it's interesting that it's based on oysters, and I think it's good that they're expanding. So there we go. If you ever thought to yourself, I wish my bloody corals could eat more oyster, good news.
I wonder if they're oyster eggs. Do oysters have eggs?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that they do. So maybe it's less on oysters and more oyster eggs.
Maybe there's a scene in Family Guy where Peter goes, "I always thought that dogs lay eggs." Have you seen that? Have you seen Family Guy?
Oh. I have. I don't remember that. And there are oyster eggs, so that's probably more that it contains oyster eggs than anything else.
Okay. Next piece of news is equipment, but
nice.
It's not a light. I think you might not hate this. This is, and I'm going to show you a picture. There you go. I flashed it up just to show you. Which company do you think made that?
I've seen that. I know it looks like it's from Red Sea because it's red and black, but I know it's not Red Sea.
It's red and grey.
Okay.
You're not doing the thing I thought you might do, and I think I understand why. But this is on Reef Builders. Avid Aqua is the company, and they've launched a new line of magnetic products. The first of which is this frag rack. So it looks like it's a modular frag rack from what I can see. But I quite like the design because it's got these little grippy things. I think they're made of silicon. The best frag racks have those grippies because then an urchin can't come and steal them. So that's great. But it's not just one circle. It's just a big line, so you can put them exactly where you want. I quite like that. And then if you've got a particularly big frag plug, it doesn't matter that it's next to a particularly small frag plug. You don't like it, right?
I'm not sure of the benefit between having a long section or having holes. That's genuinely true. I know you just said that you could put big ones and small ones.
You could move them closer together if they're fixed spaces. Anyway, whatever. It doesn't really matter. The other thing that's good about them is they seem to be kind of like they're like a staircase. So there's the second row is further out, so it doesn't get shaded. The third row is further out still, and it's got a magnet up here as well, so you can see. I think they look good.
I'm intrigued. What did you think I was going to do? You said I thought you were going to do something, but you're not going to do it. But I won't say it. I just wondered what it was. You can tell me at the end.
I'll come on to that in just a sec. The other thing with it says it's that each magnet is ultrasonically double sealed inside an ABS shell. I don't know what ultrasonically double sealed means, but it sounds good. And go on.
I think it's where you get two pieces of plastic, and it's like some sort of press, I think. And it seals them like as if they were originally one. I think that's what it is.
Oh, interesting. Well, either way, better. So I'm always reluctant to put magnets in my tank, especially if it's something that's been it's not one of the main companies, basically. So if they're doing something proper to make sure that the magnet is properly sealed, brilliant. I'm much more likely to.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's good. It's better than just sealing.
It sounds good. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm much more likely to use something like that than something that looks a bit shoddy because I don't like magnets in my tank. There are magnets in every tank, basically. Yeah. But yeah, I quite like that. And the other thing they brought out is a frag carrier. It's called the Traveller Mini. I really like these as well. I've got one and I never use it, but I love the idea of it.
Exactly.
It It means you don't waste bags. You can put it in there, and it's you small amount of water. But for whatever reason, I never use it.
Going to a show like in America where they do them all the time, really useful. And you see people they take them, or like if they're flying around America, they put them in these little containers and stuff like that. But you're right. Is it the sort of thing you take to your local fish shop? Why don't you take your one to your local fish shop?
Because I forget it.
Exactly.
And then I get there and I think, I forgot it. And then,
So, like I said, it's a good idea. It's a good idea. It's more of like the practice of someone using it, which is the problem.
Yeah. This one comes in a little thermal jacket as well.
I know.
Like a neoprene. They thought
it's the temperature correct.
And this is an American company, and they've thought about it for places where you need the temperature to be stable and that sort of stuff. So some cool ideas there. I like that. But the reason, what do you think about that font, and how does that look? What kind of company does this remind you of? You're not going to get it. Okay.
No,
the only reason I'm saying that is because after I read the thing about it that said what company this is based on. Based on is not the right word, but
it looks like Nios. Not Nios.
No, Ryan.
Neptune.
Yes, there we go. Neptune. Right. So this is Terence Fugazi, formerly of Neptune Systems, and he's teamed up with a guy called Ryan Snodgrass. Yeah. There's a footballer called Robert Snodgrass. Anyway, they look really good for a start, but I think it's those two have teamed up to make this company Avid Aqua. I think, but you can that to me. I don't know if Terence was a designer for Neptune. I don't know. I think that to me, although
sales rep for that, because he was at all the shows. I think, I don't know.
Probably. But anyway, whatever. That does have a general feel. That feels a little. If it was orange and grey instead of red and grey, that would feel Neptune to me. And that's the font in particular. Feels a bit Neptune to me. I'm not supporting any legal cases, but anyway, I think they look really good. I think they look good quality. They're nice ideas. This in particular, the frag rack, I think looks really cool. And there you go. You can buy them now from wherever you can buy them. Doesn't say, but I presume you can buy them in America. And that concludes the news.
So there was lots of news. There were two pieces of news.
Well, there wasn't lots of news at all. No. It was pretty slim pickings, I'm afraid. There was some other stuff on in the news, but I thought it was really boring, so I didn't bother talking about it. But
I am because I actually have started reading. I was always very much read Reef Builders, and I've now started to move over to that reef keeping news.
Same.
And I literally I've only done that because you have told me about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know it even existed until you mentioned it. So now we do it every week. So
yeah. No, it's good. It's really good, actually. And so I still look at Reef Builders. Reef Builders has less, for me, Reef Keeping News has more news and Reef Builders has more articles. So I think they're different. They both do articles and they both do news. But I think Reef Keeping News, because Jeremy Gay has been doing it for years. So, he knows what he's doing. That's why he's good at it. But Reef Builders is slightly different for me now. But there's still lots of news. There's still probably, I don't know what percentage, but I still get a lot of news from Reef Builders. It
feels like there's less articles on there than there used to be. It used to be yeah, true.
But Reef Builders went for a stage of expanding massively, and they had Salem, they had Remy, they had Jeremy Gay, and I feel like there were other people as well. Oh yeah, the I can't remember her name. Jen? No, what's her name? I can't remember her name.
Is she there at the moment? Evie is.
Evie. That's it. Yeah. And they had the Reef Therapy podcast had Jen, Evie, and another lady as well whose name I've forgotten. So they went through a spell of taking on loads of people, and I don't know, maybe it's just a couple of people have moved on, but so they'll probably take a bit of time and recover. But they've still got some really good stuff. And Salem's kind of one for the future, isn't he? He's a Jake of the future type.
True. I don't know Salem, so I can't comment if I'm honest.
Yeah. Anyway. Do you have anything else that you wanted to talk about, Ryan?
Not particularly. No, we can do our closing thing. I just had a look. A few of the boxes have sold already, which is good. So, but yeah, just a reminder for people: you have until 6 a.m. because that is when I will wake up. I just don't. As I said, I don't want the same thing happening because it made me feel bad. But in the end, as I said, everyone got torches anyway.
So with reefdork.se.com, there is no time limit. It's a 0% discount, but there's no you can do it. You can get that discount at any point. So
but you can't.
Whose is better?
You can't have one of those frag mounds though because they're too expensive.
Not the big ones. They honestly, and they weigh a ton, and they took like 4 days to make.
It's not worth it. I mean, you could put them up for loads of money, but
exactly. But I just don't think they were worth it. I think I was selling them for like 20 quid, and even that felt a bit expensive. So it would probably have had to be about 50 quid to make it make sense. But anyway, I digress. Right. Thanks for joining, guys. Catch you next week.
See you later.